Hello, everyone. Welcome back to DJ and the Zooms. I am Jay, and today is a very special day because Andy is back. Welcome back,
Hello.
Andy.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm very glad to have you back. And well, I've mentioned that we're going to need to talk about matters that I'm sure I'm not capable of being fair and impartial with. So I needed someone to keep me in check.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, it was an interesting race, and I was thinking of you whilst I was watching it. So it'll be interesting to see what you think.
Yeah, I'm not sure we can really call it an interesting race, but some interesting things happened.
Definitely.
Well, let's get into it right away. And I usually try to talk about everything else first and then get to McLaren and Lando, but we can't tiptoe around it. Monza had some new McLaren bullshit. There's
Yeah.
no other way to say it. And honestly, I'm starting to wonder if this season is going to be the death of me. I've discussed it with a few friends and we were saying, listen, we're ready for it to end. Just end it right now. We're
Wow.
just too tired. Let's just all go to sleep and we'll come back next year.
Wow. Wow. That's for me. I was thinking the same, but I'm a Fernando Alonso fan, but he's not in the title contention. But that's strong words coming from you.
I know. And honestly, I'm as surprised as you are. We're only 2 races back from the summer break and I'm already too tired to function. It's good that there's no race this weekend. I'm going to be able to try and calm down a little bit. So to sum up what happened, the McLarens were P2 and P3. Lando qualified in front of Oscar. Max was on pole and he kept that position throughout the race as Max does. And we're going to come back to that. But around the end, what was it? 5 laps before the end of the race?
Around that,
Maybe
yeah.
something like that. Neither of the McLarens had pitted, and since Lando was in front and had been in front for the entire race, the team asked him whether he wanted to pit first, but let him know that Oscar was under threat from Charles, who was right behind him. Well, right behind him. We'll come back to that as well. And that it might be a little more comfortable for him to pit first. And Lando agreed. But he did say at this point, you can let him pit first if you can assure me that this isn't going to affect my race, which is fair. They agreed. He let Oscar go first. They had one of the fastest pit stops. I think it was the fastest of the season, 1.9 seconds. And then Lando goes in and the pit stop lasts and lasts and lasts for 5.9 seconds, almost 6 seconds. So obviously it affected his race. And as per the previous agreement, the team asked Oscar to let him pass. Oscar disagreed, but did it because there are team orders and he doesn't really have a choice. Would you say that that's a fair assessment of, well, a fair summary of what happened?
Yeah. Spot on. Very, very fair.
Okay. Now, I hear that you don't think Oscar should have let Lando through.
No, you shouldn't done. I think Oscar. Well, we'll start with you. What do you think? Just to set it out. Obviously, you know where I stand.
Right. Well, I think you know where I stand, but, well, the thing is, in this specific case, it was previously agreed upon. So to me, there's no debate to have. They all agreed that Oscar could go first to help him, which the fact that Oscar was under threat from Charles was not Lando's problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's a saying in French, trop bon, trop con. If you're too nice, you're too stupid, in a way, which I think is Lando's issue. He needs to stop being nice. Well, does he? He doesn't want to, and I don't want him to. But every time the issue is that he's just too nice and he wanted to help out and he let Oscar go. But they did say, he did say, you can let him go first if it doesn't affect my race. And then the team messed up, and so the team had to come through. Plus, when Tom, Oscar's engineer, asked Oscar to stay back and let Lando through, he invoked Budapest 24, which I think is relevant because it was also a messed up, well, not as messed up, but an issue with the pit stops that meant Lando then came out in front of Oscar, or was in front of Oscar in the second half of the race, and had to stay back and let him through. Maybe we can say now that they're equal now. They both let the other one through because of a messed up pit stop strategy. I'm rambling, but I'm just I'm angry.
Angry at who? The reaction or the pit
The
stop?
team,
Or
because it's, well, yeah. And it still feels like they don't realize they're fighting for the championship. It still feels like amateurish. The DNF last week, the pit stop this week, and it's not the first time this season that we have problems with the long pit stops. It's pretty regular, and I feel like it didn't happen as much last year or the year before. Obviously, I wasn't watching Formula One before that, so I don't know. But what is going on? I would like them to get a grip, and we should not have problems like this one.
no. To be fair, yeah, there's been a lot of issues with the pit stops. But when you say Norris is too nice, I would argue that both of them are too nice. Because if I was Piastri, I wouldn't have let Norris past. And my question is, like, I can't remember Hungary last year. I can't remember it fully, but that's last year. This is this year. They're fighting for the title this year. Last year doesn't count. Those points don't matter this year. If Piastri loses a title by the amount of points of finishing third and second, that would be a massive, massive issue for him and obviously his fans. But my argument is, where does it stop? Obviously, the pit stop is just something that went wrong. But last weekend, Norris had an engine issue that was caused by a McLaren part, I believe. So does that mean next race they should give this dodgy part to Piastri so that it evens itself out?
Yeah, of course not. And I agree with you on that. Like, do they have to make sure that everything that happens to one happens to the other?
Yeah,
as
exactly.
well as you say, when does it stop in that regard, but also time-wise with the championship.
Exactly.
Right? Which point do we say, okay, we can't favor anyone now? And what does that look like? Because I don't think they know.
No, they don't. They're trying. McLaren's problem is they're trying too hard to be equal. They're trying to make it as fair as possible. I see online everyone saying that they're trying to favor Norris. I don't believe that at all. They're just trying to be equal. They're trying hard to make it fair on both of them, but it's just they're tinkering too much.
Yes. Have you seen Podium Sunday's reel on the matter?
No, I haven't.
She is saying, well, I should say they, because I have no idea how this person identifies anyway. They are saying that making them equal at all costs is a PR strategy, and that it is meant to attract sponsors, and that they have to make McLaren look as if everything is for the best in the best of the worlds. I know that that's not how you say it, but you know what I mean, because that's what attracts the big bucks and gets MasterCard to put, I don't remember how many millions they're planning on giving to McLaren to be McLaren MasterCard starting next year. What a horrible, horrible thing. But apparently that would be the issue. And that makes me even more angry because it means that money is ruining the sport just as money and capitalism are ruining everything else in life. And I am tired of it.
Pretty much.
So there's that. You're right. I don't think they're favoring Lando or Oscar. We've mentioned that already. We've talked about it. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember, but we've talked about the fact that some people think that Andrea hates Lando. And I talked about it in last week's episode. And I still stand by the fact that this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. We're just talking about the fact that cash is king.
Yeah.
So, and torpedoing Lando, especially Lando Norris at this time in the sport, would be shooting themselves in the foot. It makes no sense.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I'll just stick with it. They're trying really hard to just keep keep things fair between the two. And because you look at history, you look at all the issues when teammates have gone for the title, and you look at McLaren when Hamilton and Alonso, how crazy that got previously. So
Hmm.
they're just trying to keep it fair and make sure that nothing goes out of hand. So don't start bickering in house. So,
Yeah.
but it's just going too far. They're tinkering too much. Sometimes you need nature to run its course, and a bodged pit stop is part of Formula One nature. So you can't just imagine it's the last race of the season, and then you have the bodged pit stop, and it's like, oh, can you swap positions? But it's like the title's on the line. You
Yeah.
can't just do that. So
Yeah, yeah. That's what I meant. At which point in time do we stop doing that? And I don't know. And you were saying just before about if Oscar loses the championship, but the amount of points, the difference between
Mhm.
P2 and P3, it's only 3 points, the difference between P2 and P3. And so now regarding the results in Monza, it doesn't really change much being P2 or being P3 because it doesn't change a lot in the matter of points, and because no matter what, it's not P1, you're just not the winner, and being the second is the first loser, etc. So it doesn't exactly shrink the difference between them either.
thing is, but it the difference is just a few points now. But imagine
Hmm.
Piastri had a couple DNFs. He gets taken out by, I don't know, Verstappen, then his engine blows up, and then suddenly those points are really, really important to Piastri. And we have to remember next year there's new rules coming in. And
Yeah.
usually when there's new rules coming in, there's a team that runs away for a few years. Say when Mercedes and Hamilton went on that run, and then obviously the new rules came in again, and then it was Red Bull and Verstappen. So this could potentially be the only chance that Piastri and Norris both go for the title. Pretty much, you could say for a good 5 years, if McLaren are not the top team next year, then
Yeah.
this could be the one chance.
I know. And
When you
that's also why I'm so attached to Lando being able to get his championship this year, because listen, if I'm completely honest, I'm afraid if it's not now, it might be never
yeah.
because of the new rules.
And that's why when you said they're too nice, I think both of them are too nice. They need to race and be a bit selfish because this
Mm.
could be their only, like I said, their only chance. So don't play the team game. I'm sorry, I'm old school. Don't just be how Max laughed when they told him on the radio. That's how they need to act, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you in some ways. It's just at this point, if I were impartial, I would completely and entirely agree with you. If it weren't Lando and Oscar, I would agree with you. Obviously, I'm rooting for Lando, so in this case, it was advantageous to him. And I worry that if this year is not Lando's year, it's never going to be Lando's year. But I don't have the same worry for Oscar because I think Oscar is less nice, but more importantly, less loyal, and that he'll go
Yeah.
anywhere that can get him a championship, and anyone's going to take him
Yeah.
if he shows an interest.
I can see him going to Red Bull for some reason. I can see when Max goes, they'll pay big money for someone and they'll probably go for Piastri.
Of course, it makes sense. Even if I were trying very hard to be a little bit impartial, I would still have this opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not trying very hard.
But to be fair to McLaren, Norris was ahead throughout the whole race. Norris did qualify in front of Piastri, so Norris did deserve that second place. So if I look at it that way, they're trying to be fair, and it wasn't through Norris's fault that the pit stop was bodged, and he did suggest to come in second. So I can see why McLaren did it.
It doesn't make no sense whatsoever, but it's still not what we want to see.
No. No, they should just let them race. Just from now, they should learn from this. They should obviously debrief, but then going forward, just let them race. If they think Piastri's going to lose a position to Leclerc, then obviously just pit Norris earlier and then pit Piastri earlier. Don't play games and switch around and put them in a situation where things could go wrong like this.
But unfortunately, I can see the future, and I can tell you, they're not going to learn from this.
Yeah.
It is going to happen again.
Yeah.
Because it has in the past, and still it happened this weekend. So, yay. No, what I'm hoping is that at some point, because I think that McLaren is never going to learn from this, but also because it's a big company and that it's difficult for a big company to learn from anything. It's going to take a lot more time. What I'm hoping is that Lando learns from it and that in the future, because I'm sure Oscar's going to,
Yeah.
in the future, Oscar's not going to be as nice. And I would like Lando to not be
Yeah,
either.
to be fair to Norris, you can see his progression through the year. Remember at the start of the year, we were worried about his mental health and his interviews after dodgy results, but now he seems to be doing okay. Seems to be doing. He's a lot more positive and
Yeah,
neutral.
and I think he always was okay. He's just saying less now, and
Mm.
he's more assertive. And there was something recently, well, just this weekend, he said it was a team mistake, whereas he would previously always have blamed himself and only himself. And
Yeah,
now he's starting to say, I deserve, and he's starting to say it wasn't my fault, which is evolution,
yeah,
but he's growing as well.
yeah. It's positive, positive. We forget how young they are, both of them. But yeah, no, he's doing
Yeah,
well.
exactly. 20, going on 26 and 23.
Yeah, literally
So,
growing up in front of our eyes. So
exactly. And talking about grown up in front of our eyes, Kimi Antonelli is an actual child.
yeah,
And I've, I think it was Jacques Villeneuve who said something about Kimi just spewing venom at him as he
yeah,
usually does.
yeah,
And I was very worried about Kimi before the season started because I thought he was too young to be in Formula One so early in such a massive team. I think he's really handling it nicely. Like
yeah.
he's not doing as fantastic results as he may have here and there. You also get sometimes things happen, but he's doing really good for a little kid who's in his rookie year. Where I think we expect too much of little babies.
Yeah, I think the problem with the pressure that's on Kimi is the hype that Toto gave Kimi before he came into Formula One. I think that didn't help him. But since he's been in Mercedes, obviously he's got Bottas to give him support, be the driver support, and obviously Mercedes will treat their drivers a lot better than, say, Alpine or Red Bull, who are a bit more savage.
Yep. Yeah, that's also something that we discussed. I don't remember if it was with you or if it was with Danny, but the fact that I think it's very important to nurture your drivers. And I think that's what's going on at Mercedes. And I think it's good.
Hmm. For sure.
Next thing that I wanted to talk about, still talking about rookies, is Ollie Behrman, who got a 10-second penalty plus 2 points off his license for the crash with Carlos. And I
Yeah.
kind of agree with Nico Rosberg, who said that this could have been avoided by Carlos. And
Yeah. Carlos Sainz has had a lot of incidents this year, and you have to wonder why that is. Because I know he hasn't got the blame for all of them, but he's always involved. And in this instance, he definitely could have gave more racing room. And I would call it just a racing incident between the two, but he
yeah,
he should have gave him more room.
that was my first reaction. I said, well, it's a racing incident. And then, yes, he should have given him more room. Also, I feel like I also heard quite a bit about Carlos last year. But as you know, I'm not his biggest fan, so maybe I just remember more. I'm more ready to remember when Carlos messes up.
Yeah.
But I've always thought he has a tendency to not take accountability for when he's maybe he could have done anything differently, that blah blah blah. But here I'm more concerned because I think it was more of a racing incident. I'm more concerned with the fact that I think 10 seconds and 2 points is
Yeah, that's
a lot. It's really harsh.
yeah, it's crazy. The stewards, same issue. They're just inconsistent. Even look at Hamilton's penalty, his grid penalty this race from the last race
Mm.
on his outlap when he went through yellows or something. He lifted, but they were like,
Yep.
"Oh, you didn't lift enough." But there's nothing in the rule book saying you had to lift at this amount of lift to go this amount of speed. They're just like made up, and then they waited the whole race to give him the penalty for this race in Monza
Yeah.
of all places. So yeah, but yeah, Behrman's only 2 penalty points away from a ban.
He is, and that's super shocking, first of all. And like I didn't realize he'd had so many points taken off his license until now. And I agree with you that I think they're being particularly harsh when it comes to flags this year, because one of Ollie's issue was with a red flag. And
Yeah.
then red flags, of course, are a lot worse than yellow flags, but it looks like they're trying to crack down on safety. So they're making penalties be super harsh for things that have to do with safety reasons,
Mhm.
which in the beginning I understood, but it's sort of, yeah, like in this specific instance, as you say, if there is nothing in the rule book that says you have to do this specific amount of slowing down, then why? Where does it
Yeah.
come from?
It's odd because Formula One's normally like really specific with their rules and their regulations, but this time they just, I don't know, they just made it up. Well, they didn't make it up, but the worst thing is that they took their time. They could have gave him a 5 second penalty in the race, but they
Yeah.
waited until the end of the race to give him a penalty going forward. But it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Still on the topic of the rookies. No, first I want to stay with Ollie because while we had technical issues before starting to record this podcast, I looked up the qualifying results and the differences between the teammates. And I specifically looked up Ollie. No, why am I saying Ollie? I'm not talking about Ollie. I'm
Yeah.
talking about Gabby. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been a little sick for the past few days. I'm not in my best shape. Gabby Bortoletto, did you know that he outqualified Nico Hulkenberg by 10-6?
Whoa. No, I didn't know. I knew he was getting a run in, but I didn't know it was that amount.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
it is. It's crazy. I love Gabby.
Yeah.
And before the season started, I said, I think he won the lottery for the teammates. He's got the best teammates. He's going to learn so much. But I think I didn't realize how good he already was.
No, 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 no. But no, he won the F2 title, so he had that behind him. But we didn't expect him to do this well this soon, especially with Hulkenberg, because he had this reputation of being a really good qualifier, and he beat all his previous teammates like Magnussen and who was it before that? Was it Schumacher? But he beat them. He was the qualifying king within the Haas, and now he's getting
Yeah.
beat.
Yeah, I'm really proud of what Gabby's doing. I think the stake isn't it's not a great car, but they're giving us cinema this year.
Yeah. Yeah?
Like, yeah, I mean, okay, I don't know if I told you, but when I was at Silverstone and witnessed Nico's first podium,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I actually cried.
What did you?
I did. Well, it was a lot. We'd had an eventful weekend. I was driving back and forth from the Airbnb to the track, and I was the only one driving, and I usually drive on the right side of the road. So I was pretty stressed. We were waking up very early. We had an hour and 15 minutes to get to the track. So I was a little tired. And then Sunday, there was so much rain. I was soaked to my bones because when Lando came to Lando's stand, I wanted him to see a sea of yellow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I refused to put on my poncho. So I got completely drenched. I was tired. I was cold. I was wet. And then he won and Nico got his first podium. So that was the end of me. So there was that. And Gabby, who's doing so well in such a bad car on his first season, quietly, I'm just so impressed by what they're both doing and really happy. I love it. And I think that's important to point out because and that's something that I've noticed in race direction, as in how it's filmed. We see a lot of the first drivers and then that's it. The first 5 people on the
Yeah.
grid, like we follow them for 2 hours and then we don't know what happened to the rest of them. You mentioned that you hadn't noticed that Isaac went from the pits to P10,
Yeah.
and that's no surprise because No one, I didn't either. I saw it afterwards because we're not really shown any of what they do.
No.
But they are doing, it's very important that we try to keep an eye on them because they're doing really well and they're very, very impressive. And that was a great segue so that we can talk about Isaac now.
Yeah.
Because my boy is a wonder. He's a gem. He's doing everything and he's the best. And I so hope that Red Bull doesn't mess him up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the main point to look into. Is he going to get promoted to the Red Bull seat, and how's that going to go? But he's doing really, really well.
I'm not surprised because I knew that he had it in him. And no, I came across recently an interview that he gave. I think it was a press conference before a Grand Prix where he was asked if he felt like he was ready to go to Red Bull. And he said no, but he said if he got the call, he would take it. And I think, obviously, but also that's something that speaks about his character that I really like. That also kind of scares me for him. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where he's going to go.
Yeah, I think if Red Bull do promote him, one of the things they have to do is make sure they give him time. You can't just give him a few races. You can't just give him one season. He's young, he's learning. Easily minimum 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 years minimum in that seat for him to get up to speed. But yeah, I guess it also Sonoda as a saying this if he manages to improve, but we'll see.
Well, like I said, I don't think they plan on keeping Yuki.
No.
So I think he's gone next year.
Yeah, he came in with Honda, and Honda are going, so I think Sonoda's going as well.
Yep. So, but you're right. In principle, we should keep him in this discussion.
Yep.
But I don't think he's still going to be him. I don't think they wanted to put him in the Red Bull in the first place. They just
Well, promoting Lawson in front of Sonoda explains that.
exactly. And talking about Red Bull, we didn't have any opportunity to discuss this. I don't know if you know that I love Laurent Mekies. So I'm really happy that he got promoted to Red Bull. I was not a fan of Horner, so I'm glad that he's gone. All due respect, not that I know if I do owe him any respect. But I think it's interesting that Max won the Grand Prix after Horner left, not right after. And Laurent has said that it has nothing to do with him, that he has zero involvement in what's going on with the car at the moment. But maybe it's not just about the car. Maybe there's some shifts in mindset that are happening. I hope it's the case. But I think it's interesting. The timing is interesting.
Definitely. And I think he's a humble guy. I think even though it says he had nothing to do with it, I think he's just passing on the credit to the team when really he did have something to do with it as well, which shows good leadership. They always say to be a good leader, you pass on the praise to everyone, and then if there's criticism, you take the criticism. So he's obviously just passing on the praise. So yeah, Red Bull in good hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also a possibility that from where you stand, you don't always see the impact that you have on everything that's happening as one person. So that could also be in it. But I'm happy to see him there. And I'm also excited to see where he's going to go and how this is going to evolve.
Yep. It's for me as a neutral, it was interesting to see Red Bull so far ahead. Obviously, I know this track doesn't suit the McLarens, but with Max talking about the team finding a new setup direction, as a neutral, I'm hoping Max is going to get into the mix with the McLarens going forward, which will make it even more interesting. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, and I agree. I love the idea of having more people fighting at the front. I think it's going to make it so much more exciting every weekend. Terrifying, and I'm sure I'm going to lose sleep over it, but exciting.
Yeah. But I suppose for Norris, he needs some other people within the mix, because if he's going to claw back the points, he needs to win, and then he needs people to be in front of Piastri to get those points. No point just finishing first and second. He needs a first, and then Piastri fourth, fifth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If he doesn't get that DNF, then he needs him back there.
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, I hadn't thought about it like that. I just thought the spectacle would be more interesting. But yeah, you're right.
Who do you think's going to win the title?
Oh, don't ask me that. I think it's Oscar. I'm still
Yeah,
hoping for Lando, but I'm a realist, unfortunately.
we need, as bad as this sounds, we need Piastri to have a DNF. I'm saying this as a neutral as well, so I'm not saying it as a Norris fan. Just we need that engine blowout to even itself out so it can go back racing. It could happen. How many Mercedes engines have blown up this season?
Right? It could happen. We're not hoping for it, but it could happen.
Yeah,
Well, that's all I wanted to discuss today. Thank you so very much for coming on. As always, it's a pleasure discussing it with you.
definitely. Thank you for inviting me on. And I'm glad we didn't touch on Alonso because that's a touchy subject this
Do
weekend.
you have the floor?
No, I'm ready. I was already depressed on Sunday, so I'm only just getting over it.
Yeah, it's not going to be this year. But
No,
starting from next year,
fingers
new
crossed.
regulations and
Definitely.
Adrian Newey.
That's it. The rocket ship.
Not that I'm hoping for it, but
Yeah, could
kind
happen.
of. It could. It could.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for listening to the podcast until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow our Instagram, our TikTok, share anything that you can share if you think it's worth sharing. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing all of this if I didn't think it was. And please blow this up so that I become a millionaire. And I'll share with Andy, I promise.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.